People of the world, welcome to Send It Rising Live. I'm your host, Kellen Kautzman. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about how Google is entering into higher education. I was a teacher once, and yeah, we definitely need it. We need tech in education in a bad way. There's something called scaffolding, where supposedly what we're supposed to do as teachers is teach everyone at the same time. And this, of course, is ludicrous when we have one student who, in the case of me teaching Spanish, knows "Hola, cómo estás?" And then you've got some other kid who was literally raised in a Spanish speaking family in the same classroom. Try teaching those two kids at the same time. That's what you're supposed to do. Technology solves these issues, obviously. And so good to see that Google is entering into higher education. We will chat about that. We're also going to be talking about Meta opening up AR creation tools. So Facebook's getting into the AR game. It looks a lot like Snapchat. We'll describe what they're doing. Pinterest has added an option to reply to a comment with an idea pin. For those of you that are on Pinterest, you understand, well, this is a big deal. For those of you that are not on Pinterest, trust me when I tell you, being able to create an idea pin in response to a comment is very good for creators. Facebook is paying $60 million to a South Dakota bank called Meta Financial Group to secure name rights. Man, to me, it's pretty wild and somewhat silly that we have an economy that is based partly on chance, total chance that they just happened to be named that. And here we have, a $60 million payout. Why them and not, the guy on the street whose band was named Meta? You know what I'm saying? Speaking of which, there's an Instagram handle. There's an artist. The artist name was Metaverse, and Facebook got rid of their Instagram handle because they own Instagram. And so that's kind of unfair. Apparently, if you have your own financial institution, it's fine. Go ahead. We'll give you $60 million. But if you have an Instagram handle, yeah, that's ours. We're just going to go ahead and take it. I get it. They own it. Google, again, entering into higher education. We'll chat about that. UK regulator says Google and Apple hold a vice-like grip on consumers. Why do they believe that's true? And then finally, as Jack Dorsey exits Twitter, we're going to dive into the shelf life of tech CEOs, but also the higher ups and what that means. Let's start with our top story of the day. Google entering into higher education. This from InsideHigherEd.com. Quote, 2 years ago, Google announced that it was launching a career certificate program that would provide all the essentials to start a new career. The Google Career Certificate programs have exploded on the scene with millions of enrollments and are expanding to community colleges. This, of course, is not surprising to me. The fee is so much cheaper. For example, the IT user experience design, project management, and data analytics certificate costs $39 per month. I mean, seriously. Through Coursera, access to the Google Associate Android Developer Certification training is free, and the exam is $149. So colleges, I have felt for a very long time, are gigantic ripoffs. Kellen, how can you say that? We need to go to colleges, but do we though? I mean, I get it if you literally have to go into a wall and have, the big monkey, right on the cave, the side of the cave wall. That's what it feels like to me. It feels prehistoric, the way we currently do education, and getting Google into the game. Obviously, look at the dollar amounts. They don't care. They'll just drop it. There's so much competition for these paid skills and training that, yeah, $149 makes sense. That's what education should cost. Kent Walker, Senior Vice President for Global Affairs at Google, said as the plan was announced, quote, in our own hiring, we will now treat these new career certificates as the equivalent of a 4-year degree on related roles. And there you go. I mean, how beautiful is that? You learn on your own time. That makes so much sense to me. The certificates are free. Every community college in the United States and every career and technical high school in the United States. They are available for free to all of those institutions, those community colleges, et cetera. But the writing is on the wall. I mean, we're really also talking about AI tutoring. Isn't that wild? The AI tutor program, according to the article, has a variety of applications that are being tested. So chess, as I've mentioned many times on the show, has been mastered by machines, and for us to think that we're going to do better than them is absolutely absurd. Why can't tutoring be the same way? Quote, we see a profound shift in education with new technologies opening up educational opportunities. I couldn't agree more. This is a soapbox that I've been on for quite a long time. Again, as a former teacher, this is a big deal. And as a parent, I mean, it is wild to me that my son is in the 97th percentile of math. So what are the chances that what's going on, Mom? I don't know how to pronounce your name, but how's it going? Coming to us from Twitch. Thanks for hopping in the chat. But we're talking about Google entering into higher education and just how beautiful that is. If you want to join us live, youtube.com/Send It Rising. I'm also on Twitch under the handle Countsmania, where folks will, from time to time, stop by. If you have any questions, let me know. We're going to move on to our next article of the day. Meta opening up simplified AR creation tools. So basically, everyone knows that AR is the future. Meta, Facebook obviously is betting big on VR. But as I've mentioned on the show before, we're all going to be walking around with Google lenses basically on our faces, and the advertisements are going to be showing up in the sky. They're going to be on the road. And that is not that far away. I give it about 5 years. But Meta opening up simplified AR creation tools. Meta, according to socialmediatoday.com, is looking to encourage more creators into the AR ecosystem by opening up its Spark AR Go app in closed beta. So it is an app. It's called Spark. I mean, sounds like Snapchat to me. It looks like Snapchat to me. Quote, this is explained by Meta. Spark AR Go is an iOS app designed to let creators whose first mediums may be something like photography, memes, art, or video express themselves and their perspectives through AR. Yeah, okay, fine. It's Snapchat. It's funny to me that they got to find new and inventive ways of talking about it, but they are coming up with Snapchat. Shocker. It's just called Spark AR. Fine. Spark AR Go, which is Meta's Snapchat AR idea. Because they have all the money, they can do whatever they want. And this is their expression of that. They don't want to be left behind. Socialmediatoday.com. All links to all articles are in the description. Pinterest adds option to reply to a comment with an idea pin. Now, for those of you that are unaware, Pinterest is the second largest referrer of traffic to websites outside of Facebook, which is to say that a lot of people click off of pins in Pinterest and they go to websites, which is a big deal if you're trying to sell stuff. So getting popular on Pinterest is a big deal. You can now add a visual element to your pin comment reply, and you can tap on the 3 dots menu next to any comment, which will give you an option to reply with new idea pin. That will then open up the full screen idea pin composer, so you can add more context to your response. So basically, we're talking about more in-depth back and forth between folks on Pinterest. Pinterest is a great way to link build. If you're familiar with SEO, you know that the number of links that you have pointing back to your website is a big deal. When people repin something on Pinterest, it duplicates that link. And Google AI Vision has shown us that Google understands what an image is. And so if they're repinning a bunch of images that are relevant to your business, like if you sell flowers and they're repinning flower pictures, well, that's good for the AI. That's good for your rankings. Keep an eye on Pinterest. Facebook pays $60 million to South Dakota Bank Meta Financial Group to secure name rights. How lucky are you if you are Meta Financial Group? Are you even kidding me? Meta is banking on the rebranding opening of new market of the metaverse. Meta Financial Group said Delaware LLC called Beige Key acquired the name rights. The Silicon Valley giant disclosed that it was affiliated with the mysterious firm. So a bank in South Dakota gets $60 million. This just shows how flawed our ecosystem is. Oh, funny. Maman K. Patur says, bro, are you working on a radio channel? Your speaking skills is very good, to be honest. Well, thank you. I appreciate that very much. Tell a friend. YouTube.com/Send It Rising. This is my show. This is the best I can do. This is what we're up to. But anyway, look, the ecosystem's broken. If you can just grab a name and get lucky, and it's like hitting the lottery. It's ridiculous to me. I mean, we have real societal issues. We have real poverty. We have real problems. And when the kings and queens, when the royalty by name of Zuckerberg and friends, just on a whim decide to rebrand, and all of a sudden tens of millions of dollars are being thrown around. It just makes me wonder. I mean, is it completely broken? No, the system works. Many of us are being fed. I get it. Is capitalism the best thing since sliced bread? No, but yikes. The fact that some random company gets $60 million because of Facebook making a name change is just wild to me. Absolutely wild. Do they deserve it? Pfft, who knows? I mean, what do you think? Do you think if you just get lucky and you happen to own the name rights for the name change of a major conglomerate that you're owed 60 million? Well, we're going to find out, but it seems pretty wild to me. Instagram disabled artists at Metaverse handle after Facebook rebranded to Meta, which is to say that there was someone, an artist, whose handle on Instagram was at Metaverse, and Meta has to pay 60 million to this bank in South Dakota, but they pay zero and they just block this user. Thea Mai Bauman had used the account for more than a decade, but it suddenly vanished, according to theguardian.com, taking all her work with it, which is just so sad. And the reason they gave her was, quote, your account has been blocked for pretending to be someone else. How sad is that? Because Meta technically is pretending to be her, and her account just, it's so sad. Quote, that happens to women in tech, to women of color in tech all the time, said the artist, who is of a Vietnamese descent. Um, she started her Instagram account in 2012 to document her life as an art student in Brisbane and the augmented reality company that she went on to create called Metaverse Makeovers. And, you know, how ridiculous is it that she could have just bought the name rights or done some other bureaucracy, and then all of a sudden, 5 million, $10 million later, she'd be happy. The company, apparently Instagram, says, quote, we're sorry this error occurred. Interesting. So they might be rolling back and trying to make this better despite getting her account back. Oh, so she did get it back. That's good. Bauman remains worried about the future of the metaverse, a still mostly hypothetical virtual world. Okay. All right, fine. She lost it. She got it back. No big deal. We talked about Google and higher ed. Let's move on to UK regulator says Google and Apple hold a vice-like grip on consumers. Google and Apple hold a, quote, vice-like grip over how people use mobile phones, Britain's Competition and Markets Authority said on Tuesday. The statement is a fresh warning to tech groups after the regulator stepped up scrutiny of the power they wield in a world increasingly lived online. It recently told Facebook owner Meta it had to sell Giphy, the popular animated images platform it bought back in 2020. So, folks in the European Union and other parts of the world obviously do not have the same sort of perspective on companies like Google and Apple. And they just think it's ridiculous. I mean, if you are a higher up in Britain and you want to have your country and countrymen have an ability to compete, it is frustrating when the major companies are coming from other countries. So the Competition and Markets Authority, they're called the CMA, said it had provisionally found that the two groups were able to leverage their market power to create largely self-contained ecosystems. This, of course, referring to Google and Apple. This is true. Quote, Apple and Google have developed a vice-like grip over how we use mobile phones, and we're concerned that it's causing millions of people across the UK to lose out, according to CMA Chief Executive Andrea Coselli. Chris Philip, the Tech and Digital Economy Minister, said Britain's, quote, new competition regime would level the playing field between tech giants and smaller businesses. That's exactly what I just said. So basically, if you're higher up in Britain, you don't necessarily want this market domination coming from companies in the United States. It's not like Google and Apple have some sort of magic technology that is irreproducible. Is that a word? That is not reproducible. They can, they meaning competition, come in and find a way. I've mentioned many times on the show, Acacia is a great search engine that you might want to check out. It helps plant trees. It's not like search engine technology is completely owned by Google. There are many alternatives. They just happened to win. Same goes for Apple. Dorsey's exit from Twitter reveals shortening shelf life of tech CEO founders. So Dorsey stepped down, and basically what we're talking about is a lot of like Sergey Brin and Larry Page, Uber's Travis Kalanick. They all stepped aside for various reasons. So it's not just the founders; it's also these CEOs that are seeing major issues with being the heads of these companies. And I think it's the writing on the wall for the future. I think the golden age of we love our billionaires has come to an end. Everyone thinks that, I mean, I don't know, back in the 80s and 90s, it felt like there was a really strong push for this internet millionaire. Look, they created these amazing websites. Yay. And we're all like, love Facebook. Everyone loves Facebook. Man, that has turned around. It's I wouldn't say it's they're as hated as say like an oil company baron or a tech or I'm sorry, or like a tobacco company, but it's getting there. People are recognizing that looking at everyone's smiling faces and seeing the highlight reel of everyone's life all the time isn't necessarily the best way to live as a human. You want reality. And then, of course, there's the dark side of just, oh, this unbelievable hate. Where does it come from? I have no idea. Where does all of this sadness come from? But there's a lot of it, and people are expressing their fear online, which also is not good for folks. Ladies and gentlemen, let's summarize the news of the day. Meta opening up simplified AR creation tools. It's called Spark AR Go. It's in a closed beta, but it will come out eventually here, and we'll get a sense of what Facebook wants to do in the AR market. Pinterest adding an option to reply to comments with an idea pin. If you're on Pinterest, this is fairly relevant information to you. If you're not, it is a great place to market, especially if you have a national brand. If it's product focused, obviously a win-win. Facebook paying $60 million to a South Dakota bank named Meta Financial just goes to show capitalism is very flawed because here's $60 million for what again? For being lucky. Instagram artist lost the metaverse handle, but she got it back, so who cares? Google enters higher ed in a big way. Oh, please, please, please let us change education because it is a prison. I don't know if you've noticed, but these kids going into these schools, I mean, that's a little much to say that it's a prison, but it's very prison-like. Like when you look at the distribution of the food on the trays. Back when I was in school, 102-148, that was my number. Student number 102-148 reporting for duty. Absolutely no flexibility in their schedule. They don't get to choose the classes they end up going to until much later. If they're in the top 2% of math students, for example, their curriculum barely changes from them to the person sitting next to them. That's maybe in the 12th percent. Who knows? It's based on your zip code, the school you end up going to. But then you take a look at things like Google's $149 program, and you see, oh, okay, the future is coming. It is coming, and it's coming quickly. Let's go. UK regulator says, oh, not to mention college debt. Are you kidding me? Ridiculous. UK regulator says Google and Apple hold a vice-like grip on consumers. That's because they do hold a vice-like grip on consumers. Also, these British politicians are looking for ways to drive jobs in their own nations. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the show for today. I hope that your winter is going swimmingly. Technically, it's not winter. I always get that wrong. December is not winter until I want to say the 22nd, something like that. But yeah, genuinely appreciate you swinging by the show. We're trying to grow this thing. Anything you can do. If you're listening here at the end of the show, you are one of very few folks that do. And I genuinely appreciate it. Is there anything I can do to help you? Is there anything I can do to help you? Kellen, K-E-L-L-E-N. That's my name at senditrising.com. That's my email address. Go ahead, shoot me an email. Love to hear from you. And hopefully we'll talk soon.